Be me, 27 years old, working as an electrician for a commercial contractor, married to my wife Natasha for 4 years with 3-year-old daughter. Relationship has been rocky for the past year, getting worse constantly now. She works in public relations for a tech company downtown, making good money. Things fall apart when I find out she has been having an affair. Confront her about it, and she does not even try to deny it. Says she has not been happy for a long time and wants divorce. I am devastated, but agree because I cannot stay with someone who cheated. She moves out and stays with her sister while we figure out arrangements. I keep our daughter Zara most of the time because Natasha is busy. Natasha sees her on weekends, but often cancels because something comes up. I do not fight it, just try to keep things stable for daughter. A few weeks later, I get served with divorce papers at my job site. Her lawyer is requesting full custody of Zara and majority of assets. Also, wants me to pay alimony even though she makes more money than me. The papers paint me as an absent father, an unstable provider for family. I am shocked because I have been the primary parent this whole time. I take Zara to daycare every morning and pick her up every afternoon. I make her meals and do bath time and bedtime routine every night. Natasha barely sees her because she is always working or going out with friends. Hire a lawyer named Joel who has good reviews and seems straightforward with cases. Show him all the paperwork, and he says Natasha's lawyer is known for scorched earth. Her name is Simone, and she has a reputation for destroying men in divorces. Joel says she will try every trick to make me look bad in court. First hearing comes, and Simone is exactly what Joel described to me. Honestly, she is maybe 35 years old, wearing expensive suit and cold expression always. Treats me like I am already guilty of something before anything is said. Starts by painting me as a deadbeat dad who does not care about daughter. Says I work long hours in dangerous conditions and cannot provide stability for child. Says my income is inconsistent because I work contract jobs without steady salary. Says I have no college education and limited prospects for career advancement going forward. Makes it sound like I am a loser who cannot take care of anyone. Joel counters with evidence that I have been primary caregiver for past year. Daycare records show I do all drop-offs and pickups, while Natasha does none. Pediatrician records show I take Zara to all appointments, and Natasha misses them. School records show I am the emergency contact and attend all parent events. Simone pivots and says I am controlling and forced Natasha into traditional role. Says I manipulated her into doing all childcare so she could not advance career. This is insane because she barely does any childcare and has great career. But Simone makes it sound like I am some oppressive husband trapping her. She brings up that I have guns in the house, which is dangerous. I have a hunting rifle and shotgun locked in a safe for sport. Simone acts like I am running an armory and putting our daughter at risk. Judge asks if they are secured properly, and I confirm they are locked away. Simone then says, I have anger issues and have been violent toward Natasha before. This is a complete lie, and I have never laid a hand on her. Joel objects and asks for evidence, and Simone says Natasha will testify to it. I am furious because this is a disgusting lie to make me look dangerous. Joel asks me if I have any history of violence, and I say absolutely not. No arrests, no complaints, no nothing, because I have never been violent with anyone. He tells me Simone is trying to get a reaction out of me right now. Says if I stay calm and collected, it will help my case significantly. Next hearing, Natasha takes the stand, and Simone coaches her through testimony carefully. She says I was emotionally abusive and made her feel small and worthless constantly. She says I controlled finances and did not let her spend money without permission first. She says I isolated her from friends and family, so she had no support system. All of this is false, and I cannot believe she is lying like this. We had joint bank accounts, and she spent whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted. Her friends came over all the time, and I never stopped her from seeing anyone. She is making me sound like a monster when I was a good husband. Simone asks about the affair, and Natasha says it happened because I neglected her. Says I was always working and never made time for her or our relationship. Says she felt alone, and her coworker provided the emotional support I did not. She is literally blaming me for her decision to cheat on me for months. Joel cross-examines and asks about her work schedule and hours spent away. Natasha admits she works 50 to 60 hours a week, usually including some weekends. Joel asks how often she saw Zara during the week on average this year. Natasha says maybe an hour a day before bedtime if she got home early. Joel asks who did school drop off and pick up every single day this year. Natasha admits it was me because her work schedule did not allow for it. Joel asks who made dinner for Zara every night and did bedtime routine. Natasha admits it was me because I had more flexible schedule for that. Joel asks if she has missed any of Zara's doctor appointments this year. Natasha says she missed most of them because of work conflicts and meetings. Joel asks if she attended any parent-teacher conferences or school events. Natasha says no because they were during work hours and she could not leave. Joel asks about the weekends she was supposed to have Zara but can lead. Natasha gets defensive and says work emergencies came up that she could not avoid. Joel pulls out texts where she can lead to go out with friends instead. Natasha looks embarrassed as he reads her texts about brunch and girls' nights. Simone objects and says Natasha's social life is not relevant to custody here. Judge says it is relevant if she is canceling time with child for social activities. Simone looks annoyed that her strategy is not working as planned for client. Joel continues asking questions that make Natasha look worse and worse. Joel then brings up the affair and asks when it started exactly. Natasha says about 8 months ago, when things got bad at home with me. Joel asks if she was working late or actually meeting her coworker during time. Natasha admits she lied about working late to spend time with the coworker. Joel asks how many nights she lied about work to see this person instead. Natasha says she does not remember exactly, maybe 20 or 30 times total. Joel asks if Zara was home with me during all those nights, thinking Mom working. Natasha quietly says yes and looks down at her hands nervously now. Judge asks Natasha directly why she is seeking full custody of the child. Natasha says because she is the mother, and children need their mothers primarily. Judge asks what her plan is for childcare given her work schedule demands. Natasha says she will hire a nanny to help during the week when needed. Judge asks why a nanny is preferable to the father who has been primary caregiver. Natasha stammers and says she just thinks Zara needs her mother more than father. Simone jumps in and says mothers have natural bond that fathers cannot provide. Judge looks unimpressed by this argument and writes something down quietly. Next witness is Natasha's sister, who testifies that I was controlling and mean. Says Natasha came to her crying multiple times about how I treated her badly. Joel asks if she ever witnessed any of this controlling behavior herself, directly. She admits no. She only heard about it from Natasha after the fact. Joel asks if she is aware that Natasha was having an affair during marriage. She says yes, but that was because I drove her to it with my behavior. Joel asks if cheating is ever justified, regardless of marital problems that exist. She says in Natasha's case, it was understandable, given what she was going through. Joel asks what specifically I did that was so terrible to justify affair. She lists generic things like not listening and not being emotionally available enough. Joel asks for specific examples, and she cannot provide any concrete instances. Just keep saying, Natasha told her I was difficult, and that is enough. Simone calls a character witness, who is Natasha's friend from work, named Kennedy. She testifies that Natasha is an amazing mother who loves her daughter very much. Joel asks how often she has seen Natasha interact with Zara in person. Kennedy admits she has only met Zara a few times at office events, briefly. Joel asks if she is aware of how often Natasha sees her daughter weekly. Kennedy says she assumes it is every day because Natasha talks about her constantly. Joel informs her that Natasha sees Zara maybe a few hours per week currently. Kennedy looks surprised and says she did not know that was the situation. My turn to testify, and Simone goes after me aggressively from the start, immediately. Asks about my income and why it varies so much month to month. Explain that is how contract work operates, but my average is very stable. She makes it sound unstable and unreliable anyway, despite the facts I give. Asks about my education level and why I did not pursue college degree. Say I went to trade school and have a skilled career that pays well. She says trade jobs are dangerous and not appropriate for primary parent responsibilities. I explain I work commercial, not residential, and have good safety record always. She asks about my relationship with Natasha and why it failed from my view. Say it failed because she had an affair and checked out of family life. She says that is my perspective, but Natasha says I was emotionally abusive to her. I say that is false, and I have never abused her in any way. She asks if I ever raised my voice or got angry with Natasha during arguments. I say, of course we argued sometimes, but I never yelled or got physical. She says Natasha felt threatened by me during arguments and feared for safety sometimes. I say that is not true, and she never expressed fear to me once. She asks about the guns again and why I need them if not for violence. Explain they are for hunting, which I do with my dad every season. She asks if I have taken Zara hunting and exposed her to gun violence. Say no. She has never been hunting, and the guns are locked away safely. She asks about my family and if there is history of violence or abuse. Say no. My family is normal, and my parents are still happily married. She asks if I was spanked as a child, which could indicate cycle of violence. Say I was spanked occasionally, but it was normal discipline, not abuse at all. She asks if I plan to spank Zara as discipline method going forward. Say, I have not decided on discipline methods, but would never harm her. Obviously, she says, physical discipline is child abuse and shows I am unfit parent clearly. Joel objects and says spanking is legal and not relevant to this case. Judge sustains the objection and tells Simone to move on to something else. Simone asks about my social life and if I am dating anyone currently. Say no. I have been focused on Zara and getting through this divorce only. She asks if I have used dating apps or gone out to meet women recently. Say I have not been on any dates or apps at all since separation. She pulls out my Facebook and shows a photo from 2 months ago at bar. It is me and my friends watching a football game. Nothing romantic at all. She implies I was out partying while Natasha had Zara that weekend anyway. Joel clarifies that Natasha can lead her weekend. So Zara was with my parents, and I went out for 3 hours to watch a game with friends before home. Simone makes it sound like I am going out constantly, neglecting parental duties somehow. Even though this was one time in 6 months and child was with grandparents. Joel brings character witnesses, including my parents and Zara's daycare teacher here. My mom testifies that I have always been hands-on dad since Zara was born. Joel says, I do all the daily care and Natasha has become increasingly absent over time. Says Zara asks for me when she is upset and clearly has stronger bond. Daycare teacher testifies that I am at every single pickup and drop-off without fail. Says I communicate regularly about Zara's progress and am very involved in her development. Says Natasha has only come to pick up maybe 3 times in past year total. Says when there are issues or concerns, I am always the parent they contact. Joel also has texts and emails showing all the times Natasha canceled her custody. Dozens of messages where she says something came up and she cannot take Zara. I always accommodate without complaint and just adjust my schedule for our daughter. Judge reviews all the evidence and looks increasingly skeptical of Natasha's claims here. Final arguments in, Simone goes hard, painting me as dangerous, unfit father figure. Says I lack education, resources, and stability to provide proper home for child. Says Natasha is successful professional who can provide better opportunities in life. Says children, especially girls, need their mothers, and court should prioritize that bond. Joel argues that I have been primary caregiver and have strong bond with Zara. Says Natasha has prioritized career and affair over parenting responsibilities consistently. Says her sudden interest in full custody seems retaliatory, not about child's best interest. Says the evidence clearly shows I am the stable, consistent parent in Zara's life. Judge takes 2 weeks to review everything and make decision on custody arrangement. Those 2 weeks are the longest of my entire life, waiting to hear outcome. Natasha seems confident that she will win because Simone told her, mothers always win. I am terrified I will lose my daughter because the system favors mothers automatically. Day of the ruling comes, and we are all back in court waiting nervously. Judge comes in and starts reading her decision out loud to everyone present. She says she has reviewed all evidence and testimony very carefully over past weeks. She says she has serious concerns about the claims made by Natasha and her counsel. Judge says the evidence does not support claims of abuse or neglect by me. Says, in fact, evidence shows I have been exemplary father and primary caregiver consistently. Says Natasha's work schedule and priorities suggest she cannot provide primary care needed. Says her canceling custody time repeatedly shows lack of commitment to parenting role. Judge says the affair and lying about whereabouts shows poor judgment and character issues. Says using accusations of abuse without evidence is serious and not taken lightly here. Says Simone's aggressive tactics and exaggerations have actually hurt Natasha's case significantly. Says the court must prioritize child's best interest, not parental preference or gender. Judge awards me primary physical custody, with Natasha getting visitation every other weekend. Also requires Natasha to pay me child support based on income disparity between us. She is making significantly more than me, so she has to contribute financially now. Natasha looks absolutely shocked and starts crying immediately in the courtroom. Simone stands up and says this is outrageous and they will appeal immediately. Judge says that is their right, but the evidence in this case is very clear. Natasha says courts must move away from assumption that mothers are automatically better parents. Says fathers who are primary caregivers deserve equal consideration under the law. I am in complete disbelief that I actually won custody of my daughter. Joel is smiling and shaking my hand, congratulating me on the outcome today. Natasha is sobbing, and Simone is furiously packing up her papers, looking angry. I feel vindicated after being dragged through hell by lies and accusations for months. Outside the courtroom, Simone approaches me and says I got lucky today only. Says most judges would have sided with the mother, regardless of evidence presented. Says I better not mess up because they will be watching and waiting for mistakes. Joel tells her to back off and stop harassing his client immediately. A few weeks later, and Zara is thriving in our routine, without the uncertainty over us. She sees Natasha every other weekend, but still asks for me when she is upset. Natasha is bitter and barely communicates with me about anything regarding daughter. She sends child support payments, but always late and with hostile messages attached. I hear through mutual friends that Simone is telling people the judge was biased. Kimmentry says the whole case was example of courts failing mothers and siding with fathers. She is not taking any responsibility for her scorched earth approach backfiring badly. Instead, she is blaming sexism in the court system for her loss in case. Joel tells me that Simone's reputation has actually taken a hit from this case. Other lawyers are talking about how her aggressive tactics hurt her client's case badly. He says, judges do not respond well to false accusations and exaggerated claims about abuse. He says, going for maximum damage only works if you actually have evidence to support it. She thought she could make up abuse claims and judges would believe it because Man. She underestimated that this judge would actually look at evidence and facts objectively. Her assumption that the system is rigged for men backfired when reality proved otherwise. Natasha also assumed that being the mother meant she would automatically win custody, even though she barely spent time with Zara and canceled constantly on her daughter. She thought her lawyer could paint me as the bad guy, and that would be enough. Instead, the judge saw through it and gave custody to the parent who actually does work. Think about how many fathers lose custody, not because they are bad parents, but because lawyers like Simone convince judges with false narratives and gender-biased claims. They weaponize feminism to destroy men and take children away from good fathers. In my case, it failed. But I wonder how many times it has succeeded before. The truth is, I almost lost my daughter to someone who barely sees her. All because Simone thought she could lie and exaggerate her way to victory in court. She was so confident in her strategy, she never considered it could backfire this badly. Now she is broken and angry because a judge actually held her accountable for lies. Zara is happy and healthy, and that is all that matters to me at the end. I get to be her dad every day and watch her grow up, which I almost lost. Natasha gets visitation, but everyone knows I am the real parent in her life. And Simone learned that scorched earth tactics do not always work like she expected. Sometimes feminist lawyers assume the system will always favor their lies and exaggerations. Sometimes going for maximum damage only damages your own client's credibility in case. Sometimes judges actually look at evidence instead of just believing mothers deserve custody. And sometimes the father who actually does the work gets to keep his daughter.